Welcome back to another episode of Breaking the Line. I'm Samuel.
And I'm Charleton.
Taking a deep dive into the art of mime and choreography, and I am excited about today's episode.
Me too. We've been hyping it up since last week.
This is probably, dare I say it, like one of my favorite songs that I've ever choreographed. And let me tell you the story of this. So, Mime Camp 2021. We finished...
Was it 2021?
No, I'm telling you, this one was 2022. But let me tell you the story, Cake, interrupting me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, end of...
Mash that like script! Oh, sorry.
End of Mime Camp 2021. We just finished the last 3 songs that we did previous 2 weeks here. Go watch links that we find. Anyway, we just finished that, but we left Jesus on the cross. It was kind of a, unfair hang up for the audience that didn't get to see the
unnecessary cliffhanger.
Right. A year-long cliffhanger here. And so I felt like it was appropriate to finish that, story arc and get to the resurrection. But man, when you start talking about the resurrection of Jesus, this is big. This is supposed to be the pinnacle of the Bible up to this point, right? Like the exclamation point on top of things. So we needed to find music that fit that. And let me tell you, we have never done a song with this cool music. Am I wrong? Has there any bit of this genre?
It's literally called the Future Bass Remix.
Yes.
I don't even know what that means, but we got it.
Future Bass. You can ask our friend Lars. He knows all about EDM.
Yeah.
Because this is an EDM track. And I can't even tell you, is there another song that has used EDM? There's some pop Christian songs that have elements, maybe that some teams have choreographed, but even then it's
okay, so I choreographed a song to a Tetris remix, and that was pretty much EDM.
Yeah, then
look up Creatress on the Digital Mime.
I don't know, man. But anyway, the hype, when I heard the song, my daughter was only a few months old at the time, right? She would jump the bass hits on this. So just watch your ears if you. The music's balanced. It shouldn't be a problem. But it is so cool, and I felt fit the pinnacle of this moment perfectly. Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
So, like I said, year later, Mime Camp 2022. You'll notice the music is actually the same music as the song before,
same
but
track.
Just a little bit faster. It's only a few beats per minute faster. And we picked up where we left off, so we're going to take the thieves off the cross first. And don't blink, there's actually a magic trick in this song as well. We needed to fit some really cool moments. For instance, when Jesus is raised from the dead, he kind of disappears different places. So, magic trick. Keep your eye on Jesus. Also,
it is kind of a funny thing. We do have Satan here.
Yeah.
And Satan actually doesn't appear very many times in Project.
He probably will be in the other songs eventually.
Yeah.
So you saw the Joseph, the rich disciple, showing up to kind of have that moment, and then we have the Pharisees and Sadducees being highlighted. They would be in the other songs as well. Just again, number of people coming up to the rich person. Oh, what's his name? I'm blanking. It's song's gonna go fast, man. So then we have the resurrection. Where we have angels.
Joseph Arimathea.
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
So resurrection, but wait. Where's Jesus? He's not in the tomb. So the women get excited, throw their things around. In the final version, there'll be more people here, but angels are going to go grab some flags. And look at this. Jesus.
Boom, suddenly Jesus. Wait, he's on stage left? How did he get there?
Yeah, exactly. Watch back if you don't know. So, wearing the crown, that element of king. This moment, the road to Emmaus from Luke, you have prophet, priest, king, suffering servant, all highlighted here as roles that Jesus is saying that he fulfilled, followed by the account in John chapter 22 of Peter being in the boat.
And look at that
Jesus
staff.
The staff, of course. Peter jumps in the water, immediately is bowing. We're fast forwarding in the scene to the moment where...
Yeah, those little tend to be fast forward scenes.
Followed by a freeze, gets upstage by the guards. The Pharisees paying off the guards, saying, "Don't tell anyone about the resurrection." Jesus's final words, the Great Commission, go to all the world. He ascends. Slow, dramatic music. Peter with the staff. And they go.
And they're all sent. You see the angels pointing. Why are you here?
Exactly.
He has risen.
Just as they said. Oh, it's so many good moments. We're going to have to break this down, man.
Yep. It's 2.5 minutes of just nonstop epicness.
Oh, man. Okay. Let's get into it. Okay, so where do we start? There's a lot of elements to this thing. Let's start with purpose and message. Purpose, project, under story. We're done.
Yep.
Parts of the song itself. Typology is huge in the whole project.
Yep.
So we, throughout the whole Old Testament, start developing these prophet, priest, king, suffering servant roles. To name a few, we'll have Joseph. That story's already done. As well as Daniel, that song's not done, as kind of the suffering servant motifs. You have the prophets who show up with the staff, as well as kind of the leaders of Israel. So like Moses, is he the first one who gets the staff?
I think technically Abraham gets the staff.
Yeah, that's fair. So that you're going to see that staff get passed down from person to person. John the Baptist will be getting it in the New Testament and hands it off to Jesus and Christ. You'll see that in the last time when we did that one. So we have that leadership type role. You have the king role with David, and Solomon, the crown being passed, and then Jesus gets to sting and fulfill them all. Now, and priest, that one we haven't touched on as much, but it'll show up a little bit from Leviticus, as well as different other elements that are to come.
Yep, and it is a bit prop heavy, but what's hilarious is all the props go to Jesus.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
there are the people up at the
road to Emmaus is kind of like the look at all of these. They were pointing to me kind of idea.
Yeah, there is that, but like, even like the big gaudy golden cape is such an interesting thing. Like technically, that's a God cape that I use. But
sure,
like,
in the future, it might be more purpley at some point or whatever.
But like the idea is that like he goes from like the humble little sash to just an extravagant robe.
Dare I say it in the theology section? N.T. Wright wrote a book called "How God Became King." We're trying to show, well, yes, God has always been sovereign ruler the whole time. There is a special, unique moment in the crucifixion where Jesus gets crowned king. Now, how that gets fulfilled in the future, you can debate the other things, but there is something super significant in the cross, and that something changed, right? When he says, all authority has been given to me, that was like as if we didn't have it. Well, yeah, actually something changed between the beginning of the Gospels and after Jesus was crucified and rose from the dead. All authority has been given to him, that we're trying to show that divine reign of Christ.
Yep. No, it's good. Obviously, like a lot of praiseworthy aspects that I don't feel like it's difficult to get all of them. One thing that I think is really neat from a technical perspective is like the music. First of all, the music is very different from the rest of the entire soundtrack of Project Understory, because most of the time we went with like orchestral kind of arrangements.
A few smaller, lighter tracks that are more piano covers or something.
Yeah, something very little variation in that. But then we have this like epic EDM rendition of his theme.
I hope the old people love it as much as I do. Like if it doesn't, like I hope people in their seats feel the bass and just like it hits the gravity of the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. So that. Pretty cool.
Music's great.
Secondly, the way that the music is used, like I think I kind of touched on it, the little points being like points where people spin to
quick
transition scenes.
Yes.
Like that.
My original vision, I was hoping that it would like melt and come back. Obviously, it's in your mind, but I wanted it to be a quick like change of scenes.
Yep. So there's a lot of little things like that. The things that were chosen there, because like okay, so let me rewind like 10 years. So like back when this was an idea from Jarek, this was going to be one of the original 7 songs.
Yeah.
Because I think there was like the creation, fall, birth, crucifixion, ascension.
Right. But
yeah, that was it. And then we added like I think 2 Old Testament songs was kind of what kind of the original view.
But obviously you were going to get to the resurrection at some point.
The resurrection was kind of like one of those main like grand slam kind of ideas that we wanted to make sure like this was in there from the beginning. And I kind of liked it. I think it was good. Yeah. But like the point being like this is kind of the culmination, the biggest apex of the whole like the climax, the everything comes into this one point.
And it doesn't just do that like in theory. Everything comes like all of the types of people that we've been developing slowly for the last hour and 15 minutes has now met in Christ, where he gets to show all of these were ways that were pointing towards him and how he is fulfilling them and how through his suffering he is now reigning king.
Yep. And so I think that would be one of my biggest praises on.
Yeah.
Like a macro kind of level of the star.
Set pieces. I put more set pieces in this song than I've put in like every other song that I've ever choreographed. Like, from the top. You have smaller. You have the thieves on the cross being taken down like manually. Like, I don't know what other song takes them down off of the cross.
Right. They're usually just kind of like spin off and you're gone.
Exactly. They're also discarded, like kind of like trash, like they're just
very unceremoniously.
And so followed by Jesus being stopped at that moment. How many songs have Joseph, like the Cyrene? Arimathea, I think is Cyrene, not that one. Like how many songs have him highlighted, like trying to stop and appeal to Pilate where the body was going to go? It's Pilate, right? That's what part I was blanking on. Who got to decide where?
I don't remember.
Oh man, I'm blanking.
Somebody did.
Anyway, so that's unique. The magic trick, if you didn't catch that already. So Jesus needed to mysteriously go from one side of the stage to the other. And we talked a lot about, does he run around the baptismal? Does he
we had ideas of like he literally goes off stage and then goes around the building or like, into the backs of the stage and then comes on the other stage.
Yeah, exactly. But he also needed some time to put on that God cape in order to show his resurrection. So what we end up doing is having Satan in the song, which, mind you, Satan will show up more when we have the final project. So like when Judas betrays Jesus, there'll probably be a moment where he shows up. Little things. He's throughout the whole project. But using the Satan cape allowed him to be the tomb, which all the more so represents like the death side of things. And then Jesus slips on the Satan cape. Like, I'm sorry, what? Edit. I'm not making a theological claim here. He just used it to hide. Goes to the other side of the stage. Followed by the set piece of the just before the resurrection. I want to have a living garden. It's not in the song here. I ran out of people. Okay, I had like 20 people and I didn't have enough. I wanted to have all of the mimes doing like things like trees or bushes or some life in the garden, just the precursor of the resurrection. Followed by how many songs have angels doing flags? Mm-hmm. Well, actually, there'll be more after celebration. But
it goes from 1 to 2 at that point.
Exactly. Yeah, crazy. That emphasis on the glorious nature of it. All right. Then you have the road to Emmaus, right? How many songs have that moment of like, look at all this fulfilling in me? You then have with Peter the dive. Thank you, Sedona, for nailing that dive with the water.
She just went into it.
So it's a stage dive onto the ground where it transitions as if Peter's diving into the water into them bowing in that transition of "Do you love me, Peter?" So we're at 7 set pieces, followed by the final moment, or I guess the end. The guards being paid off. How many songs have that element of?
Yeah, usually it's just Judas. He gets the money, but then no, we have the
guards getting paid off. Don't tell anybody that in that freeze frame to highlight them. Followed by the Great Commission. How many songs have the Great Commission? Like that?
There's a few.
No, there's not any.
Well, Fishes of Men has it.
It's true. I don't know this. Again, but the elements of the restoration of Peter being restored to his role. He's not the Pope. Not Catholic, sorry. But it gets staffed back with that restoration of his role in Christ. You'll notice he also Jesus gave the staff to Peter, but at some point puts it down when he gets tempted and then gets restored into his ministry and when he'll show up in church later.
Yep.
I don't know. It's just a lot of set pieces that I love every single one of them.
And remember, this is a 2.5 minute song.
Yes. Okay. Can we critique it now? Because that's my critique. Too many set pieces.
Yeah, I feel like
it's too much going on that
the audience. Do we need to like extend this song?
I don't even know, man. We might have to extend it. The sequence. I don't know. I think the audience doesn't have time. That is a legitimate critique of the song that I have, where there's just not enough time to visually capture everything.
Yeah, I feel like that is might be my only critique is that there is a lot going on very quickly and it's really hard to understand.
Yeah,
like there are so many juicy aspects to it that I love it, but like I want to make sure that people actually get it.
Yep, totally.
So
no, that's my biggest critique.
That might be my only critique, honestly.
Yeah. No, and we hit it all when we get into theology here. Like typology, if you don't know, is that like pictures of how like David preceded Christ, not just literally in chronological order, but the picture of how he's portrayed. The Book of Chronicles does this beautifully, where the things that David does, you'll notice like Chronicles versus Kings. Chronicles just takes all the bad parts out of David's life. And no, it's not revisionist history. It's intentionally trying to show the ways that David correctly demonstrated what the future king of Israel would need to be. And that longing for that future king. The same thing with prophet and priest, as well as suffering servant. Those were all preceding Christ and said, we need a savior who looks like this, not a savior that looks like this conquering king through normal human means who amasses a huge army, but he's actually going to have to suffer through death in order to restore people, because the problem isn't outside of us, it's inside of us. And so we needed something to destroy that darkness inside of us, and that was only through somebody going through the valley of death on our behalf and then letting us follow through his life. And so that, I think, is really cool to highlight. That I don't know what else other song would be able to do without having this such a long project and emphasize the, like, how Christ fits all the purposes of the Old Testament.
Yep. And I do think like that's one of the biggest points like of this project as a whole, but also I feel like this song does great in culminating is all of the things that we've been building up. Because like at this point we will have been working on, like by the time the whole opera happens, I think we'll have been working on it for like 10 years in some capacity or not. And like going way back to the beginning, like this was like things have developed and so on and so forth. But finally for it to culminate in this moment where like we have way back in Genesis when in creation, we have kind of like the pointing to the sun as the fulfillment of things.
Just a little nod.
You know, a little nod, nothing too crazy. And then like, you know, we can fast forward all the way to Abraham, to the prophets, to the kings, all these things throughout the Old Testament is, you know, human faltering, but then also looking forward to what the perfection would look like. And then finally culminating in Jesus. Yeah. And like, I'm excited for the whole thing to happen, man. Let me just be honest.
So excited. All right, let's get into it. Clarity, difficulty, style. Clarity. If you already know some of the parts of the story, you're going to hit a lot of it, but it's too fast. That's the biggest probably knock I'm going to give on this whole song. The clarity just can fall short in some ways. And so unless we change things the way it stands now, I think there's lots of really clear pictures and moments, so I'm still going to give it like an 8, but there's definitely elements that are going to go too fast and people are going to get. Plus, the style of the magic trick where Jesus disappears can actually throw audience members off. I've had that happen with people watching the video. They're like not able to watch because they're like confused where Jesus is at.
Yeah, well, I think for me personally, I would probably give this song. So yeah, I was thinking probably give it like a 6 or a 7. Most of the reason, you know, I'm probably going to round it up to a 7, just for you. Okay. Most of the reason is because like there are a lot of chaotic moments in there that are kind of difficult to really solidify. But the ones that are clear, like you get it. And heck, even if you don't know what's going on, I think you still get it. Like, you know,
oh, this is a big deal.
Yeah, like you get the moments, like everything kind of unfolds and there's big, huge explosions and extravagance everywhere. And it's like, you get it. Jesus came back from the dead and he saw and talked to people. And then he ascended and sent out his disciples. I feel like that being kind of like, you could say the root storyline. Yeah. I feel like that's super clear. Yeah. Like no issues there. Some of the set pieces and the nuances and stuff like that can be lost because it's so fast paced. Yeah. Otherwise, it gets a big thumbs up.
Yeah. I think when we finally do all this together, we're going to spend a lot of time clearing out some of the details because part of the lack of clarity can be in the difficulty because the difficulty is like a 9. Yeah. It's short song, but there's just so many transitions that once you're done with that beginning sequence, it's like turn, transition, be clear. Now you're fishing. Now you're watching. Like it, you have to know when to be the focus of it and know when to not.
Yeah. Like the point where Peter goes in and dives and then the scene changes. If you're not like doing that perfectly on time, you can actually lose track of what's going on.
Right. You have and keeping the main focus, right? Because if the background's moving too fast and they're not B-roll enough, they gets lost and the, front and center. And all of that takes just practice, right? There's nothing to it other than people having that syncness together with each other.
Yep. And I would argue that like none of the people on stage, even with this being like 20 people, I don't think any of them have an easy role in the song.
Right. Everyone's transitioning. Everyone's rolling around.
Everyone's doing backflips on stage.
Kind of, yeah. There's flags in the song.
Yeah. And so like between everything, I'd say difficulty, I feel like it's an easy 9. Could go higher.
I'm going 9. Partly because it's short. That's I think the only thing that saves it. That's this true. Was a minute longer, easy 10. But...
Yeah. I'm going to give it a 9.
Yeah. And then style, I'm giving it an 11. Like I'm serious. It's an 11. I don't care if our scale's 1 through 10, and I don't care if you think I'm prideful of because I choreographed it myself. I love this stinking song.
It's a good song.
And there's so many there's so much. I love working through this process. This is what made me alive again as like a choreographer. Like so many things came together, and just it was so fun putting it on people and like watching them, work out details with each other. And I feel like for that, I'm getting an 11. We're going. Guitar Hero, we like crank it up to 11. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm going to give it a 12. No, I'm just kidding.
Me ceases to matter.
Yeah, I know. Honestly, like I feel like the biggest thing that deducts points would be from clarity.
Yeah,
and so
totally.
I feel like it's probably not even fair to deduct points from style because of that, because it's got so many good aspects to it, and of course the culmination, blah blah blah. We've talked about it. So I was gonna give it like a 9.5 on style.
Deal.
So yeah,
I'm still keeping
super
it.
good.
I don't care. I'm so happy.
No, you know what? I'm gonna give it a 9, so that way it averages out to both of us giving it a 10.
Cool. That sounds fair.
9.5. So I'll give it a 9.5.
Nice. Cool. All right. Go watch the videos. Watch some of the Old Testament part of the project so you can see what we're talking about. That build up. There's a few more that we're trying to finish up here. Hopefully soon. Stay tuned. And as always, mash that like grab.
And I'm Charleton. Wait, what?
Breaking the line.
Okay.